path that is most natural for you. I don't think you can force it. If you try to suppress your desire to, say, make money or have children or what have you, I don't think that's going to end well. So we kind of just have to learn our lessons, so to speak. So I had a tweet a while back where I said the reason to win the game is to be free of it. And like most of my tweets, it's not aimed at the audience, it's aimed at me. It's because I'm always fighting with myself. I've basically on every measure achieved more than I even set out for originally. And so I should be happy, I should be content, but yet I can't turn off that drive. It keeps running at times. So I have to remind myself, hey, the point of winning the game was so I could stop playing the game, not so I could upgrade into an even stupider game, right? At some point, you have to see through it and realize that you can squander your entire life just playing these games and miss this life that actually is going on around us. So I would say they do run counter to each other, and it's just an observation, and that observation is helpful for two reasons. One is so that you can stop playing the game when you've won, or at least realize when you're doubling down and going back into a game that maybe you don't need to be playing anymore. And the second is so you can very carefully choose which games you choose to play. Because if you play every game, if you play the envy game with everyone around you, and you want to be better looking and you want to have a better mate and you want a bigger house and you want to make more money and you want higher status and you want to be more popular, you're just going to be miserable all the time. So you kind of have to pick your most overwhelming desire, commit to that one, see it through, win that game, and let everything else go. So these are the kind of notes to myself. But this is a constant struggle. Like I go through being between being overworked to being bored, and I will snap within 1 minute between those two states. And so it's just they do run counter to each other. It's funny. Like I probably spend, I'll spend an hour a day meditating, and then I'll spend the next 2 hours on phone calls, like getting my mind all spun up. And then I'm like, boy, there goes my meditation. There goes the peace of mind that I had from it. So yes, these are struggles. If they didn't run counter to each other, then it would actually be quite easy. Now, I think there is a state that you can enter, call it a flow state, where you're doing the activity for the sheer joy of it, and you're enjoying it because it's kind of at the edge of your capability. You're both learning and getting better at doing it, while at the same time you're putting everything into it. You're exhausting yourself into it, and you're enjoying the activity enough that you don't really care about the outcome that much. And that's when you're going to do your best work, right? These flow states, when you're the most creative. You're also going to think the most rationally. You're going to have the best judgment because you're going to be most immersed in the moment and not really obsessing about the future outcome, but rather looking at the facts at hand as dispassionately as possible. These states to me are golden. When you can put yourself into these kinds of situations, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can actually be quite calm while operating at peak effectiveness. But I won't say that these are easy states to achieve. They require a certain level of mastery in what you're doing, and they require you to keep a self-awareness as to your actions, and it also requires a complete detachment from the outcome. Um, and again, one doesn't do these things by struggling to do them. One finds oneself doing these things when one has a certain level of expertise and awareness.
I love that. Thank you so much, Naval, and thank you for bringing up the nuances that come along with this journey. That's it from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, Reem.
Hi, Naval. Thank you for the opportunity. So many, and myself included, view blockchain as a bridge of transformation to the world of intangible assets. So today, the transformation away from the physical world is accelerating in a mind-boggling speed with respect to end user and average consumer. So I guess we are physical creatures in the end. How can we reconcile with all this transformation? And how can we also help the older generation, such as our parents and older family people, um, you know, go through this transformation as seamlessly as possible? I don't want to see my parents, for instance, feeling left out of all this. I mean, now with the COVID situation and everyone is minding social distancing, we feel that the elderly are feeling more distanced than people who are in the digital realm, in the digital space. So how can we just reconcile with all this madness? Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. We are living much more digital lives, screen-based lives. In a way, it can be great. Like, look at how much human connection we're having here in this room that wouldn't be possible without digital. Without digital, I'd actually be just sitting by myself in my room reading a book, which may be better for my long-term mental health and well-being and education. But at the same time, I obviously came on here because I was craving connection of some sort, and so did all of you. So it can actually bring us together as humans. Technology is just a tool. It doesn't necessarily have to divide us. It's not necessarily good or bad. It can connect us. Uh, for the older generation, it's more acute because they're less facile with technology. But at the same time, people are very practical. They'll adopt, anything that's not too hard to use and sort of brings them closer together. I can't get my mom on Twitter, for example. That's not going to be her speed. It's like staring at a small screen and typing text with your thumbs and trying to articulate yourself in 280 characters and yelling at strangers for what? On the other hand, I think it's going to be fairly easy to get her on Clubhouse once there's speakers on here that are relevant to her interests. It's actually a relatively easy interface. Voice is universal, and she can just kind of leave it on the background when she wanders around. And if she wants to participate, the controls are actually quite simple. It is an iPhone screen, so it's tough as eyesight gets worse as you get older. So hopefully they'll have an iPad app and a computer app and so on. All of that should be doable. But I don't think technology necessarily has to leave older people behind. But there's no question that it's harder. It's something that all of us are going to face. No matter how good you think you are with technology, your kids are going to be better at it. And if they're not, then, it's a problem because they're a younger generation. They're growing up with technology. They should be better at it. Your kids should get there faster. They should roll their eyes at you, and say, Mom, Dad, I can't believe you're stumbling with that. It's just the nature of growing older. But overall, I think that just like young kids have so much more access to technology and connection to technology than they used to, almost to a detriment, where they'll be on TikTok or on Instagram, which are basically addiction machines, right? The way like TikTok algorithm is designed, and it's not maliciously designed necessarily. It's just the AI that they let loose on it. That algorithm wins the more you stay stuck on TikTok. So I'm sure that there are lots of young kids who are just scrolling TikTok nonstop. It's like nonstop, constant dopamine drips, and it's going to connect and it's going to addict them to it. Um, so that's not necessarily the good part of it. I wandered on a bit of a tangent, but I think with like elderly parents and even with kids, like look at iPads, right? I remember I used to do tech support for my mom all the time. Like every week she'd call me up. Oh, my cable modem's broken. Oh, I fired up my computer and I think I accidentally trashed the hard drive. What do I do? And that was a difficult scenario. But now, ever since I got an iPad and switched her to an LTE connection and got her Wi-Fi working, it's seamless. I don't get tech support calls anymore. So things have gotten better for the elderly. So I do think technology will help them and solve these problems. They are a big market. We can keep building better and better tools for them. The good news is that as everybody gets busier, we all value simpler and better interfaces. Nobody has the patience to go debugging stuff anymore. We all want stuff to work seamlessly and well. We value good UIs. The AirPods are a hit, I'll bet, even with the elderly because you get tangled up in wires and cords. Things like Clubhouse are a hit because the interfaces are very simple. We're not going to tolerate complex UIs. So overall, I'm pretty optimistic. But look, it takes time. At the end of the day, the best thing you can do for your parents is to like take your iPad and sit down with them and show them the different pieces and show them how it's relevant to them. And I'll bet you if you show them something that they want, they'll figure out how to use it. These modern UIs are actually getting very good. The bar for an app UI has increased a lot in the last decade, and I think it'll continue getting better and better. There are apps out there. I'll make a disclaimer because I'm an investor in this one, but if you look at Honk, or if you look at, I'm not an investor in the next one, it's a Rainbow Wallet and Ethereum. These apps are just gorgeous. They're so well done. They even out Apple.